We start off the day in Palm Springs at the BNP Paribas Open. We watch Andy Murray and then Medvedev warm up. Sporting events always get me pretty stoked. Really should have bought this poker themed polo shirt though. Anyways, we pick up our desert buddies Marcelo and Kale and then hit the road, stopping at my favorite boba joint in Roland Heights. It's called Xing Fu Tang, I think I pronounced that right, and they hand make everything right in front of you, which is always pretty neat. We're ready for some poker though. This is a cool episode because we start off at the Hustler and then 4 hours later end up at a Tiki bar home game. We're into the 2-3 game for $500.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. We're here at the meetup game. This is our table we're playing at for the next 3 hours. So hopefully we get into some good spots. Got Andrew locked, we got Fish Poker, we also got a bunch of other vloggers that are hosting meetup game here at the Hustler. So it should be a fun time. Let's jump right into the hands. Make sure you subscribe if you're new, leave a comment down below, hit that like button, and let's go!
First hand of the night, we look down at King 9 of spades from the small blind. The straddle's on an early position, raises it up to $15. When there's two callers over to me, I decide to put in the call as well. We're sitting pretty deep here for this 2-3 game, and it's only another like $15 to call, so that's what I do. The big blind calls as well, and sometimes you know when you just really hate a straddle person. Well, this is one of those moments when he doesn't make it a family pot. He re-raises it to $85 with $111 behind. When the action folds back around to me, sometimes you just gotta go for it. King 9 might be ahead of all the pocket pairs you'd think about doing this with. For instance, if you had like 5-6s or my favorite hand, pocket 7s, we're just flipping against that, and with a lot of the dead money out there already, and we're at a meetup game, I put in the rest of my stack for $196. He puts in the call. Obviously he's not going to fold for $111 more, and we're off to a run out, which comes Queen Jack 6 with 2 clubs. 3 of hearts peels off on the turn, and the board pairing Jack of hearts is not a great start for us. I turn over my cards, and sure enough, he shows us what was a flip. He had pocket 8s, the snowman, and $452 going his way early, but I was pretty much in a 50-50 situation there, so didn't really hate my chances. I'm stuck $200 early on the session. Next hand, we look down at a double board PLO bomb pot. I pick up my favorite hand suited to the spade and a 3 of clubs in there for whatever that's worth. Top board comes King 8-5. The bottom board comes Jack 9-7. Not going to give it a bang on this one because it is a double board bomb pot, but still great flopping a set. The action checks over to the cutoff who bets out for $75. I put in the call here, and 4 other players do as well. If we can avoid a club on the bottom board, might be able to chop a nice little pot here. When the turn comes an ace on both boards, doesn't really change too much, and an interesting spot for us, but I think it's actually a pretty easy one. Even though we have a set on the bottom board, we have absolutely squadouche on the top. For that reason, someone told me once, sets in double board PLO bomb pots are just not as good as they seem. So for that reason, I show my neighbor who's out of the hand that I have a set on the bottom, and I muck my cards. Big blind goes all in for $500, and 3 other players do as well. So I'm really liking my fold a lot more now after seeing all the action. When everything was wrapped up in the hand, we would have lost on both boards, so it was a really great fold by me. And just a little note for you guys, if you have a set on one board and a ton of action from the rest of the players and nothing on the top board, probably best to just get out of the way and pick a better spot. We rebuy for a few $100 more, and I look down at pocket 9s from the small blind. The button opens it up to $20, which doesn't necessarily scream strength. If you guys study poker at all, you know that the button has to open a wide range when it folds to him, taking advantage of the dead money in the blinds. For that reason, pocket 9s is going to be ahead of a large portion of his range, which means I want to put more money in there. $60 is the price of poker. Also, I'm out of position, so I like sizing up here, and he puts in the call, so going heads up, out of position to a flop, which comes ace 8-3 rainbow. Not exactly a bad board because the ace will connect well with our pre-flop raising range, as well as the fact that I already have a pocket pair in my hand, which in poker is pretty hard to make a hand, so I like my odds in this one. I bet out for $50. When we get snap called by the button, it's not great news. However, the way he calls I've seen before is indicative of a draw or a weak hand. Usually when someone takes a stack of chips and doesn't cut it out before pushing it forward and then just lines it up to your chips and then evens it out. I've seen that before, and people have told me that that's a sign of weakness. So for whatever that's worth, we're off to a turn which comes the 4 of spades. $220 out there, probably could go for another bet here around the size of the pot. Put pressure on any of his cards like 10s, jacks, or maybe his backdoor flush draw he picked up. Either way, when I check, he checks behind, which is great news, and the 4 of clubs pairs the board. Interesting spot here. Do you guys go for a bet, or do you decide to check it over to him and see what he does? I decided to go for a bet, but it's pretty much like a blocker type bet. It's 1/10 the size of the pot for $25. When he puts in the call, I turn over my cards, and he doesn't turn over his, which is great news for us. When he mucks, we're taking down that $270 pot and get a little bit of extra value at the end, which gets a ruse from our buddy Kale at the end of the table.
1, 2, go.
Let's see who has the deepest throat.
And they're up. And it's not even close. You have enough
I'm running out of memory.
Do you have enough memory?
No.
Do I just stand here or what?
Oh, it's blinking. No more memory.
Yeah!
And he finished it.
Yeah. Fish, any words?
No.
No. Wolfgang, any words?
Who has the deepest throat? How do you start that off? How am I supposed to chug after you say that?
Go Marsh, go Marsh. No quit Marsh, no quit.
What were you saying?
Oh God, he's gonna talk.
Oh, and he's...
Oh, no.
So tell me, Wolfie, who has the deepest throat?
Deepest throat.
Deepest throat.
Yeah, so if you guys were wondering what a meetup game looks like and when I'm involved, that's what it's like. I did not come up with the deepest throat line, but yeah, that's drunk poker here at the Hustler Casino. Nevertheless, we get back to the poker, which is what we came for. I look down at pocket 10s, 6-5. I know I'm butchering how I'm saying these double board PLO bomb pot hands, but bear with me here. The top board comes 9-9 deuce. The bottom board comes 8-7-4. Bang! We flop the nuts on the bottom, the nut straight, which is pretty great. Overpair on the top, and a pretty great spot for us with $80 in the middle. I bet out for $45 and 2 players put in the call, so a nice pot is already brewing. The button wants to brew a special one here though, and he re-raises it to $275. Pretty crazy spot for us, and against any heart draw or any other better straight draws, or maybe a 9. We just want to get value here and get it in. So I re-raise all in and he calls. He turns over his hand, King Jack 10-9, so he obviously flopped the 9 on top, and he has some possibilities on the bottom. Need to fade some cards as we have the nuts on the bottom, but pretty much nothing on top now that he showed his 9. The top comes the 8 of diamonds, doesn't really change anything, and the bottom comes the 8 of clubs. Still have the best hand on the bottom against the button opponent. The top comes the 4 of clubs, and we lose that board, and the bottom comes the 9 of spades, and we're going to lose that one too. How did he just back into the straight there with a case 9, meaning it's the last 9 in the deck because he has one in his hand? Absolute brutal spot for us. We had the best hand on the bottom. We're going to chop up that $1,000 pot, but instead, it all goes his way with the miracle card on the river. I'm pretty bummed in the moment, but looking back at this here, I was having a great time at the meetup game, so I can't be too bummed about it, and he's going to take down that $1,100 pot in what is a scoop-de-doop. After that brutal beat, it's time to head over to the Tiki game. We rack up our chips and head to the cage.
Well, that's unfortunate. They got us for 767 in that game, so not the best, but definitely a lot of fun, and always a good time supporting other vloggers. If you guys are hosting a meetup game and I'm in the area, I'll definitely be there. But now we're going to head to another game, a private game, after getting some Korean barbecue, so that should be fun, and we're going to try to get back our money. So don't click out of this video just yet. Let's go into the next hands.
When you lose $700 playing poker, there's not many things that can make you feel better. Lucky for me, I'm a foodie, so I like Korean barbecue. That definitely does the job. At our table are some dedicated vlog watchers that show up to every meetup game, so shout out to you. And then the table over are all the vloggers that hosted the one at the Hustler. After enjoying a nice meal, we head over to Marty's Tiki game. It's a 1-2 game. I'm in for $400.
We made it to Marty's game. What's up, Marty? He's sober now.
I am. I'm drinking coffee.
Oh, wow.
I pride myself in my
Boys.
It's warm.
What's up, boys?
The vibes are immaculate here at Marty's meetup game, and you guys love this table from before. Yes, he got this table from a worker at the Commerce Casino, home game with a Commerce felt. That's pretty cool. I look down at pocket 10s from the low jack, and I open it up to $15. The big blind re-raises me to $75 on the first hand. Trying to defend his turf here at his home meetup game. I put in the call though. I'm not going to be bullied around with a hand as strong as pocket 10s. Putting in the call, and the flop comes 9-6 deuce with 2 spades. Pretty great board for us, and the opponent leads out into us for $60. $150 out there, not going to be folding for 60 bones. I put in the call, and that brings in the Queen of Hearts on the turn, to which the opponent doesn't think about it at all and just rips it all in for $200. Pretty gross spot for us. We called him on the flop, but then when he rips his entire stack in on the turn, at the last meetup game for 5 hours, I had not seen him do anything out of line. So I'm going to give him some credit here and fold my pocket tens, which was an overpair on the flop. I muck my cards, and he turns over ace king offsuit and is going to get rewarded with that pot. Great bluff from you, man. Ace high is going to take that one down, and we're off to a bad start here already at Marty's game. After topping up for $200 more, I look down at a pretty great hand here in Pineapple. Pocket kings with a queen, and I raise it up to $15. Probably should have bet more because we get 5 callers, so we're off to a flop. Seems like anytime you have pocket kings, the flop is going to come ace high. This is no different here when it comes ace 6 deuce rainbow, and the action checks over to Fish, who bets out for $20. When 2 people call, pretty no-brainer decision from me. Just gonna have to muck my cards here. It's Pineapple, and anyone could easily have an ace in their hand, especially because there's 3 cards to play. So pretty sad to be folding my kings, but that's what we have to do. Make the right decision here, and no worries. We're looking down at another Pineapple hand, this time ace king 3 with 2 clubs. I'm in the small blind, and Fish opens it up to $15, getting 2 callers over to me. I'm gonna pop him up with a pretty strong hand here. I have the second nut club flush draw, and I have ace king high. Seems pretty good in the spot, so I re-raise it to 65 bones. 2 callers, we're going 3 ways to the flop, which gives us top pair. It comes king 10-4 with 2 hearts. I bet out for $55, and the only person that calls was our friend Kale, who drove up to LA with us. He puts in $55, and we're off to the turn, which comes to jack of clubs, giving us a gutter to the straight. I check it over to Kale, and he bets out now for $100. Kale's a good player as well, but I don't expect him to be betting $100 here with a bluff or a hand worse than my ace king. So when I muck my cards, a really cool side note of this game is that Marty gives you a chip. It's called a show me chip, and anytime that you're too curious and you need to see the opponent's cards, you can give it to him, and he has to expose his cards. I use it in this spot. I need to see if I made another bad fold, but sure enough, I made a great one. He turns over king jack suited, so I was ahead on the flop, went for value, and when he bet on the turn when I was beat, I made a great fold. Really love the concept of this game here, and glad I did not give Kale any more money. As the night goes on, the game gets even crazier. Marty puts in a $64 straddle, and then we roast the homie to his left for not putting in the $128 straddle. Check it out.
256.
Last hand of the night, we look down at king jack of spades from the big blind. The hijack opens it up to $20, and the cutoff puts in the call. I'm stuck in this session right now, and I have a pretty good hand. That is all a recipe for a 3-bet incoming from myself. Sure enough, I make it $85. I size up here because of the caller in between. Only the cutoff puts in the call. The initial raiser gets out of the way, which is strange. Going heads up to a flop. Out of position, the flop is not great. It comes 6-4 deuce all clubs. I check, and he checks it behind. On these monotone boards, meaning all clubs, all hearts, something of that nature, I usually do a lot of checking. I'm going to have a lot of the high clubs in my hand as well, so I can continue betting on the turn and represent some pretty strong hands. When he checks behind, nevertheless, we're off to a turn. With $200 out there, the turn pairs the board. It comes the 4 of hearts. And like I said on the flop, just because I check does not mean I can't represent strong hands on the turn. I'm also going to be checking with a lot of overpairs here as well. I could quite easily have king jack of clubs, ace king with the ace of clubs, things of that nature. So when I bet out here for half pot, it's not only a bluff. Don't tell the cutoff that though. He puts in the $85. He doesn't believe me on this turn, and that brings in the 8 of hearts on the river. We have the opponent covered, and he only has around $200 left in his stack, and I didn't have a few drinks here to not put my entire stack in with king high, and maybe I can get him to fold a better hand when I rip it all in. Pretty gross spot here for the opponent. Representing a flush, maybe a set, maybe an overpair that just decided to check the flop. Either way though, he mucks his cards and he throws the coveted show me chip over to me. I'm going to have to show the bluff, and I'm happy to do so when I'm rewarded with this pot. I turn over my cards and he shows ace queen, so he did have the best hand, but I'm not really sure how he's going to be calling there. With that hand over, we rack up our chips, and we don't head to the cage. We just cash out with our buddy Marty. I got out of the game for $859, so net profit of $59 at Marty's Tiki home game. Thanks for watching to the end of my video. Click my head below to subscribe and stay in the loop. See you next time.